Welcome to the Rider Magazine Insider Podcast from the editors of Rider Magazine and ridermagazine.com, bringing you motorcycling at its best in print every month and on the web for 46 years, and now in this regular podcast. This is Mark Tuttle, editor of Rider, and I'm here with senior editor Greg Drevenstedt and managing editor Jenny Smith. Today we're going to share a bit of news from the world of motorcycling, after which we'll discuss what's new and happening at the 2019 and 2020 Progressive International Motorcycle Shows with Discover the Ride program manager Robert Pandya, who we met with back in November during the Long Beach edition of the show, which, as it happens, all three of the Rider staff attended as well, and it was fun. It was a big crowd, wouldn't you guys say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good crowd. There was a line waiting to get in down at the Long Beach Convention Center, and all of the OEs had their new stuff there. How many new bikes were there this year, Greg?
In terms of street legal models, there's almost 60 new or updated models to look at.
Wow, that's a lot of new bikes. What, Jenny? What jumped out at you the most?
I really actually enjoyed the new BMWs, the 900s, the XR and the R, just because those are kind of my size.
Yeah.
And so those were pretty cool. And it was actually my first opportunity to get a look at the Katana firsthand.
Interesting.
And
Controversial motorcycle.
Controversial motorcycle.
Yeah.
I like the look, but definitely a bit controversial, especially in terms of pricing.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's it's essentially a GSX 1000R, right? With a
SXS 1000.
We're going to screw up these naming conventions a lot, folks, because they're getting more and more complicated all the time, and there's getting to be more and more R's on the end of everything.
Exactly. Speaking of R's, one of the cool bikes to see from Honda is the new CBR 1000RRR SP. They call it the triple R for short. It's essentially a street legal race bike. It's going to go take on Kawasaki and Ducati in the World Superbike Championship. So that's actually going to be a 2021 model. Don't know when it's coming, but it is got an all-new engine. It's got all new electronics. It's super light, new
Nice.
chassis.
Yeah.
It's pretty much everything Honda's racing program can put together in a motorcycle that will be homologated for World Superbike.
Now, do you have to be a racer to buy that?
No, that will be you can purchase it from the public, but we don't have pricing yet. So it's likely to be a limited edition, so small production numbers, probably going to come with a pretty high price tag.
Now, Greg, you're, aren't you headed for the Suzuki V-Strom 1050 launch next month?
Yes. So in the end of January, Suzuki's hosting a press launch in Spain for their new V-Strom lineup for the leader class. So they're now called 1050s, even though the engine size the displacement hasn't actually changed. It's a 1043cc V-twin, has been for a few years.
Why didn't they call it a 1050 before?
I don't know. I think they mainly changed the name because they've come out with new styling that's more, it really is more inspired by their DR Big rally bikes, Dakar rally bikes from several decades ago. Very cool retro styling, really bold colors and graphics this year. The base model V-Strom 1050's got some new electronics. It's got a little bit more power, so they've tuned the engine a little bit. Then they have an XT model as well as an XT Adventure model. And those come with more advanced IMU-based electronics, as well as more touring/adventure accessories that are standard on those models. So
they've done well with those V-Stroms, and they're great bikes for people that don't necessarily want a full-on adventure machine, want more street manners, right? And but the same sort of versatility.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of adventure bikes on the market today. I think because they appeal to a wide range of riders. The one challenge for some people is seat height. They tend to have long travel suspension, so the seats are pretty tall, but a lot of the bikes have as much performance as anybody would want from a sport touring bike or even somewhat of some sport bikes. but you've got it in a much more comfortable seating position, some wind protection.
Gotcha.
And if you want to go down a gravel road, you can do that. And some people can go even, more advanced off-road riding if they've got the skills and inclination.
And speaking of adventure bikes, I think, Jenny, you're also headed to a Triumph launch in Morocco, of all places, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
to ride the new Tiger 900. Which, speaking of seat height, they have a low ride height option that's only 29.9 inches.
Wow, that's down in cruiser territory, isn't it? Almost, anyway, or standard bike territory. So Triumph changed the names. They increased the displacement, so it's a 900 now. That's the main thing, I guess. But what did they do with the names? They did something there.
So now there's 3 street-oriented ones, the 900, the GT, and the GT Pro, and 2 off-roads, the Rally and the Rally Pro.
Okay. And one, the road bikes have, what, 17?
19-inch.
19, 17, and then...
And the Rallies have 21 in the front.
21. But they still stuck with the 17 in the back. I thought that was kind of strange. Since, most dirt bikes have a 21-18 combo. But maybe it has... Oh, you know what? I bet it's tire size available, or tire availability or something like that. So have you been to Morocco before?
I haven't. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that should be wild. It's a lot of sand and rocks and dirt and
Camels.
Perfect. All right. Well, we are going to take a short break. Again, this is Mark Tuttle with Greg Drevenstedt and Jenny Smith. Right after the break, we are going to pick up with our guest, Robert Pandya, to hear more about the Discover the Ride program at the Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. I'm Mark Tuttle, the editor of Rider Magazine, and I'm here with our managing editor, Jenny Smith.
Hello.
And we have the distinct pleasure of sharing the room with Robert Pandya, who is the owner of Spokespeople LLC and is also the program manager, for the Discover the Ride program at the Progressive International Motorcycle Shows and on their 7-show tour. And we happen to be right across the street from the Long Beach show, which starts tomorrow. So we wanted to talk to Robert a little bit about the IMS show and Discover the Ride. How are you doing, Robert?
I'm good, Junior Editor Tuttle.
I met Robert.
I mean, if titles matter, no, we're kidding. I've known you for a long time.
Long time when you started with Piaggio.
It was just Aprilia back then.
It was just Aprilia.
It was just Aprilia,
okay.
yeah.
2003? Was that?
Probably about 23 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. God, we look good, don't we?
It's a good thing we're on radio. That's all I can say.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Robert, tell us first a little bit about maybe give us an overview of what someone might expect who wants to go to one of the international motorcycle shows.
Well, first off, being that this is a podcast and we're all ADD, for those of you who want to just look at something while you're listening, I'm assuming you're not driving, you can go on to motorcycleshows.com, and then there's the whole show schedule there. And I got to correct you on one thing. It's actually 8 shows this year because we we added Denver back into the schedule, which is pretty cool. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So the Progressive International Motorcycle Shows Tour is the #1 top motorcycle show that tours around the country, all these 8 different stops. And we open up in Long Beach, we're in New York, we're in Denver, we're in Cleveland, Chicago, a bunch of big, Minneapolis, bunch of big major markets. Basically, it's all things motorcycling under one roof. Not so much in Long Beach, but certainly a lot of the rest of the country, it's like sort of off-season for motorcycling. So this is a place to go to see the latest and greatest. But this year's tour has gotten a lot more experiential. It's not like a rolling museum, right? We're going to roll out all the bikes on the carpet, put them behind ropes, don't touch anything. We're not doing that. It is really about interacting, literally getting onto motorcycles, learning how to wheelie. We have that opportunity at the show.
Can I do that?
Yeah. I'll cut you to the head of the line. I know a guy. Yes. Anyway, but that's really what our world has become. Is as much as we are addicted to screens and viewing and watching, the reality is when you come to the show, you want to do. You want to experience.
Yeah.
And that's
so
what
if somebody makes the effort to get down there, they're not only going to see most of, if not all of, the new motorcycles for the 2020 and even 2021 model year, they'll be able to sit on them and talk to representatives from the OEs about them, maybe grab a beer, a hot dog, and also see a bunch of great aftermarket stuff too, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's a ton of great vendors. So there's all the mom and pops. Some of them is the small like 10 by 10s and 10 by 20s that are selling that thing you didn't know you need yet. That's like my favorite thing to discover. I have to walk all the catacombs, and try and find that thing that I didn't know I need yet. And then the product experts, as so in your position, in the work that we did together in a prior life, I was the expert on a particular brand, or I was the press representative for that. And average customers, motorcycle riders, really don't get access to that level of expertise on a regular basis. So here at the show, literally you have product experts who know these bikes up and down. They know their entire product range. Some of them are sales folks from dealerships, but really the intent is not so much to like sell you, hey, what can we put you on today? It's more about discovering the world of motorcycling in what is honestly a pretty neutral, fun, and very, very interactive this year. Very interactive.
And one of those interactive programs I know is near and dear to your heart, and that's the Discover the Ride program, right?
Yeah, Discover the Ride was, we had a kind of an idea jam session a couple of summers ago, and I thought, well, in Long Beach, we do demo rides out in the parking lot. And people familiar with the California show just assume that's normal everywhere. Well, we don't do that in New York. We can't do that in Cleveland because there's a sheet of ice usually. But I thought if we can figure out how to do demo rides indoors, that would be really compelling. Long story short, we basically have a program set up where somebody can come in and be unlicensed and inexperienced in motorcycling. And we'll take them. We partnered with Yamaha powered bicycles, and if you haven't ridden one of those yet, you don't know what you're missing, because those
cool.
Aren't they cool, Jenny?
They're super cool. Yeah. I haven't ridden a Yamaha. I've ridden a different brand, but I have two of them, and they're so much fun. Remember, I gave you a ride through the parking lot. Yeah, he came back and he's like, how does this like it just takes the effort away.
It's literally like the hand of God just sort of is like pushing you down.
Yes,
just,
the invisible hand.
Or everything is downhill. When you were a kid, you just wanted everything to be downhill. That's what powered bicycles are. It's like
it's awesome.
It's the downhill machine, right? And so anyway, so you get a chance to experience that, and that proves to us on the motorcycle side that you know how to balance. You can follow our instructions and that sort of thing. And then once you graduate out of that, a few minutes later, we're putting you on modified Zero electric motorcycles. And you guys have done stories on, the electric bike revolution and all that sort of stuff. And our friends at Zero really, they got it. They got it right away. And they have built for us these Zero FXS model. They built a special version just for us that has half the battery pack, because we don't need the big battery pack. So these bikes are lightweight. They're about 260 pounds, which is
like a
awesome.
dirt bike light.
Yeah, dirt bike. Yeah. And then they're speed limited. They'll only go like 11, 12 miles an hour, no matter how long you hold on the throttle. And then no matter how fast you roll on the throttle, they have sort of a very gentle acceleration rate. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
So a Zero, to compare it to like a fuel engine, it would be like having a V8 and pulling out all but two of the spark plugs. It just doesn't. It's not going to have that snap. It's not going to scare you. And really, that's what it's about.
Zero motorcycles have really progressed a long way since their beginnings, when they were more like bicycles. Now they're actually really close to full-fledged internal combustion motorcycles.
Their latest bike, that SRF, is just a beast, and it's super, super cool. But as awesome as an electric bike could be on that end, you need something that's docile and it's not gonna, and that's really the thing that's powerful about what you can do with electric motorcycling.
Well,
is we can dial it all back.
And the lack of exhaust, is that a factor in the indoor places, especially in the winter?
I want to tell you, Mark Tuttle,
Junior
editor. Someday you'll get a promotion. But one of the most difficult conversations in the power sports industry is for Tracy Harris and her team at the IMS show to walk into a building and say to a fire marshal, "Yeah, we want to put new riders on motorcycles inside the building." Okay, is that cool? All right. Yeah. So it literally, I'm making a joke about it, but it literally takes significant confidence, the horsepower within the industry to be able to, and history, frankly. I mean, the tour's been going for 40 years now, to put something like that on, and to invite neophyte new riders to come in and get on a bike and ride for the first time.
It really bears repeating that that this is available to anyone.
Over 16.
Over 16. Yeah. You don't need a motorcycle license or even any experience with a motorcycle at all. So unlike an MSF course, for example, where you have to go and sit in the classroom for a couple of days before you can even get on a bike outdoors somewhere, weather permitting, and MSF classes are
not cheap.
They're not cheap, and also they're few and far between.
It's a big it's a big commitment. Yeah, this is a taste test.
Yeah.
And Robert, I have a question. So do they have to have a driver's license?
No, they just got to be of age. I mean, they can prove that
they
they're
just have
of
to be
age.
16.
Yeah. So in some markets, New York City, a lot of people don't have driver's license, but they have an ID.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, but they have an ID. Washington D.C. is actually another city where we run into that. But no, they don't. Right. And the challenge. My theory when I threw this out with the team. And at first there was a little bit of pushback, but my theory was that most people can be trained how to ride on a motorcycle as long as they know how to balance. I can do that in 10 minutes. That was my theory. So I understand the goal of the training programs. We partner with Total Control Training, Lee Park's organization. So he's got fantastic instructors, and they can get into all the deep training that you need truly to ride a motorcycle out on a street. So we're not saying to skip that, but this program is literally designed. You go to the grocery store and then they got the little sausages with the the toothpick sticking out of it, right? This is the sausage toothpick in the grocery store. So you taste it. You don't get to snag the whole sausage and run off with it, right? It's a little taste test.
Is this for me?
Right, a towelette and move on, right?
Box?
So exactly. So this is an opportunity for people to come to the show, particularly motorcyclists, and I got to recognize my friend Scott Harden, who has the Plus One initiative. Which is saying basically you're a motorcyclist. If you just add one motorcyclist, out of your friend network a year, that we're just going to increase our numbers just through that. So this is a great opportunity for somebody who maybe is a hardcore enthusiast who would be a Rider Magazine reader to reach out to that next level out. And with Women Rider, and what you're doing is to reach out to that next level out who's really interested, but they're not quite
sure.
Yeah. So that's really who we want. That's our win. And it's literally when people get off of that zero experience to discover the ride, and that one brain cell is like, oh man, I can do this. That's all I want. If I get that, we win.
Yes.
Because now they walk back into that motorcycle show, and instead of it kind of being in the museum and looking at stuff that they don't really quite understand, they're psychologically, they change and go like, which one is mine? Which one, why would I want a dual sport bike, or do I want a sport bike, or do I want a cruiser? They start to
see themselves on
it's powerful.
Something.
And there's more to the program too than just the zeros, right? I mean, there's also are these STASIC? Is that how you say that?
Yeah, STASIC, STA. What is it?
CYC.
STASIC. So that was a company that was born in California, but bought by Harley Davidson recently, and they make balance bikes for kids, but they're powered balance bikes. So they don't have pedals like a traditional bicycle. And that's something for the young kids at the show to do, is to come in and get on these things. And the STASIC crew, man, they work hard. You imagine a kindergarten teacher. I mean, that's what these guys are doing like all day long. And these first they like sort of stride along on top of the bikes, and then they'll add the battery pack and set the power setting to really low, and then teach them how a throttle works. And some kids it takes a little while. Some kids just pick it up right away. But
so this is a perfect experience for, let's say, a man or woman who has some family members who don't ride, but they do, and they want to get the rest of the family interested.
Yeah.
Bring the family down to the show. The older ones can take a lap or 6 on a zero, and the younger kids can try the Stasic bikes. And what else?
Well, there's so the guys at Zero are like, so you want to demo these bikes and they can only go like 11, 12 miles an hour. Everyone's going to think our bikes only go 12 miles an hour. and you guys know that electric bikes are, they have phenomenal performance.
Wicked quick.
Yeah.
Wicked quick over here. And so what we wanted to do to show that end of the power spectrum is we actually have our friends, Chris Tice over at XDL has a couple of like the standard bikes that aren't restricted, bolted down onto old dynos, and they teach you how to do wheelies.
Can I do that tomorrow?
Fantastic. You don't have to ask me.
Yeah. So you get on the bike and it's all strapped in. You can't, unless you let go, you're not going to fall off the thing, right? And so you can just sit on it, and they'll teach you how to like find that balance point and kind of float along, and you feel, huge power through the bike to get it to jump up and everything. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. Again, the show is not about just staring and looking at new vehicles. Right. It's really interactive. We have vintage bike displays there. We have DIY presentations that go on for those who want to learn like adjusting chains and some of the basic stuff, get them over that hump. Yeah. And then we have a great crew with new to two, which are like Monique Phillips.
New to two as in new to 2 wheels, right?
Exactly, new to 2 wheels. And that's where that crew knows that there is no such thing as a dumb question.
Perfect. Yeah.
There's loads of people who don't know why a sport bike looks like a sport bike and a dirt bike looks like a dirt bike. We get it already.
No, we get it.
But
I think some days I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I've read some of your reviews.
So do the participants need to bring any gear?
No, that's a great question. No, they can walk in street clothes. You do have to have closed-toed shoes that go all the way around your foot. So what do you ladies call those shoes or your heels exposed? What are those things called?
Like a mule?
The mule. Yeah, no mules.
No mules.
No mules. But you got to
slingbacks.
No, well, yeah. Well, I can't wear my slingbacks to the show.
You do look good in them. But,
well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Save it for happy hour.
So the every hour's happy hour. Jenny. But you gotta have closed-toe shoes and long pants. But we've got jackets, helmets, gloves, all provided by Cycle Gear, which is a great organization. They chipped in all the gear to do this. We'll fit you with the proper stuff. And honestly, for tons of people, this is the first time they put a helmet on their head.
Right.
And they don't even know how to
they don't know how to fasten it. Yeah.
Or how they've got the face shield down right away and it's fogging up and it's like, no, don't need to do that. There's no bugs in here, so you can leave it up. And, anyway, it's just, it really is a program that I'm really proud of, that my little idea with the power of the IMS team turned into something big. And last year when we only did 7 shows, we trained nearly, I think it was 6,800 people.
My goodness, that's a lot of folks.
Yeah, when you start dividing it up against the show hours, we're cranking.
Robert, you can articulate this better than anybody I know.
Oh, you give me too much credit.
Why is this so important now? What is let's tell the listener why we're doing all of this. I mean, or why the IMS shows are doing it. What's going on in the motorcycle industry that makes it so important? Well,
the bike industry, the motorcycle industry has gone through its ups and downs in history. In 2008 and 2009, when there was, the big housing market crash, motorcycling kind of went down with that, right? We overlooked the fact that as housing recovered and people's income came back and unemployment went down and blah blah blah, there was sort of a broad assumption that motorcycling will pick right back up to where it was. Well, it pretty much stayed flat. By and large, it stayed flat. And not only that, but like the top end of the spectrum, the $30,000 CVOs or the custom bikes and that stuff like really got hurt, right? So the profit, the industry also went down significantly.
Yes.
And so the challenge in the motorcycle industry is not availability of funds, or in my opinion, the desire. I think the desire to ride is out there. I think it's up to us as motorcyclists to increase the approachability for riding. And the number one thing we can do is to invite that non-riding buddy to come out and experience and be that good shepherd of the category of motorcycling and bring that out. So the industry is down in sales. That's the number one metric that people care about. But used bike sales are actually pretty good.
Right.
And so there's something interesting happening there. Well, those bikes are cheaper, and I can't ride a 15-year-old ZX10, faster than I could a brand new BMW 1000RR.
Exactly.
I mean, my skill set like sort of leveled at so as a to go out and buy a used motorcycle kind of makes sense for a lot of people out there. So. But on the new bike side of things, if we don't continue to bring new riders in who are interested in new motorcycles and to maintain riders through being inclusive of things like sidecars and slingshots and Vanderhalls and some of these other products out there where people are like, oh, that's not a motorcycle, but that's what keeps people engaged in power sports, and if it wasn't for side-by-sides, the ATV market, right? So
all that stuff is great fun.
It's huge. Yeah. So that's why we're doing this, is actually, and credit to Yamaha powered bicycles and to Zero, because those two brands are actually going to create customers for Harley and Honda and Suzuki and Royal Enfield and all the Ducati, all the other brands out there, because that exposure to the category is what we desperately need to continue to get more riders in.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, thanks very much.
Oh man, I thought we were going to go into my T-shirt collection. And what?
We talked about that last time.
Episode 2.
Oh wow! That'll give me time to do laundry then.
One caveat about the show: if you do go down, make sure to go visit the Discover the Ride area before you hit the bar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right. That's good. Yeah. We have finely tuned noses.
One last question: have you noticed any similarities among the people that are taking the new rider course? That's
a great question. We are. I'm going to promote you. I think you should be the editor.
No more junior editor?
No. It's way to go, good. Mark. Way to go. We are disproportionately seeing females riding and Discover the Ride. So against the industry, right? Industry says supposedly there's like 20% of our ridership is female, right? But almost 50% of the ridership at Discover the Ride is female. So there is clearly significant interest to get into riding on the female side of things.
Absolutely.
There's also an assumption at the motorcycle shows that everyone who comes to a motorcycle show is a motorcyclist. We have a ton of people who don't have their M endorsement, or one of those people who maybe took a total control training class and then never got their license years ago, and then Right. They sort of come back. So really that's what we're seeing is as wide a swath as you can imagine, but it really absolutely hits at the demographics that this industry talks about wanting to get more of all the time. So it's a success.
Fantastic. Well, there you heard it right here. There's something for everyone.
Right from the horse's mouth.
At the Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. Robert, thanks so much for your time, man. I know that you got to rush back over to the show and get DTR set up, and because you're expecting pretty good crowd tomorrow, I imagine.
Yeah, Long Beach is always a big kickoff. And then, again, you guys check out motorcycleshows.com, and there's a whole tour there. You can buy your tickets online, so you can skip the line at the front. And kids are free on certain days, and then there's like group rates and all sorts of stuff. So more stuff than I want to get into.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robert. You've been listening to the Rider Magazine Insider Podcast, this time featuring Robert Pandya from the Discover the Ride program at the Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. Thanks for spending some of your valuable time with us. Feel free to reach out to us through our ridermagazine.com website, on our like-name social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or email us directly at rider@ridermagazine.com. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate your interest.